Welcome to day 248 on Daily Dose of Hope, and we've been talking about the blessing of rest. And we're talking about resting in God's presence today. Exodus 33 verse 14, God said to Moses, "And my presence will go before you, and I will give you rest." There's a rest that can only be found in God. And that's what the Bible says, that he that has entered into that rest that can only be found in God will cease from struggling. The Bible says there remaineth a rest for us, and we should labor to enter into the place of that rest. Because when we are there, we cease from struggling. The rest that can only be found in God finds expression on the premise of trust. Anyone that has got into that place where God is his stop, God is his only option, he looks unto God and depends on God absolutely, 100%. That person has entered into the rest of God, and he ceases from physical labor, but is resting on the premise of God's move, God's blessing, God's provision, and God's manifestation. Resting in God is the willingness to drop all your desires and personal ambition in order to remain at the center of God's will. That's what it means. A man that has entered into God's rest has drawn the conclusion that whatever God cannot do, may I not have it. Whatever God cannot take me, may I never get there. There remains the rest in God, and we can only get into that rest when we trust God absolutely, and we're not looking for alternative. Moses got to that point. And when God said, "I'll send an angel before you," Moses said, "If you don't go with us, we're not going." And God answered Moses and said unto him, Exodus 33 verse 14, "My presence will go before you, and I will give you rest." Let me tell you, you will get to a junction in your life where you will just drop it at his feet. You get to a place in your walk with God where you will know that I have prayed, I have fasted. At this point, I trust. At this point, I wait on God. At this point, I wait on God because my expectation is of him. At this point, I just remain unagitated and unmoved. I've entered a place of rest, and I trust that the God that has helped me before will help me again today. The foremost sign of spiritual maturity for a child of God is when he gets to that point where he's no more agitated, he's anxious for nothing, but by prayer and supplication, he will rest on God, making his request known. I'm praying for you. May God give you capacity to enter into that rest that will cause all labor to cease in Jesus.